that we don't become slaves to the algorithm. Kind of like trying to create a fresh meal out of everybody's leftovers. You really you lose your unique filter and perspective, what makes you uniquely you, when we are competing with people's attention spans on Instagram all day and not see a single Canadian news story. Well, we talk a lot about artificial intelligence and the impact on jobs and the industry in the future. A lot of people are worried that it's going to threaten our livelihoods and cause mass layoffs. I think there's definitely a place for AI in our industry. We can use it ethically, we can use it wisely like a tool. I see artificial intelligence kind of like how the calculator replaced the abacus, but you still need to hire someone to do your taxes. You still need to hire someone to drive the bus, and we as humans drive the bus. If you want to create content using only AI, it's kind of like trying to create a fresh meal out of everybody's leftovers. You really can't do that. If you outsource the process of creation to a robot, you really lose your unique filter and perspective, what makes you uniquely you when you write a story or you create a piece of content. And I don't believe you can outsource that. How to tell a story authentically. In order to do so, you need to build direct relationships with your audiences. In Canada, we have a very unique case study. So in June of 2023, we passed something called the Online News Act. We asked big tech giants like Google and Facebook, Meta, Instagram to pay us in exchange for featuring news content online. Google agreed, so they paid us $100 million a year, but Meta refused. And so what that means is that Meta blocked all Canadian news content on social media. You can scroll through Facebook and Instagram all day and not see a single Canadian news story. So what did that mean for news outlets? It meant we had to scramble, we had to build relationships directly with our audiences, and we did that by going back to the basics, which is building trust. So for example, we started building our own owned platforms. It was a harsh awakening when our distribution channel was completely gone, but it's kind of like if you've ever had your Facebook account hacked or you've lost access to your Instagram all of a sudden, it's a whole new level of pain because you realize that everything that you post on there doesn't belong to you, that these tech platforms, these social media platforms, they are not like a public town square, they are private companies with their own business priorities. And so when you lose access all of a sudden, it's like the landlord has suddenly changed the locks and you find yourself exposed and vulnerable. And that's why it's so important, especially in this age of AI and as technology keeps marching ahead, that we don't become slaves to the algorithm. If you optimize your content just for clicks and for views, it's just a race to the bottom. We need to optimize for understanding, we need to optimize for trust. So going back to what we had to do, we started focusing on building our own owned platforms, pouring investments into our websites, into creating digital apps, into creating newsletters, and we also saw the emergence of new hyper-local cultural, regional programming and news outlets that targeted communities that have traditionally been underserved or marginalized, for example, our Indigenous people or other people from other cultural groups or who live in remote communities. And so when you provide this local programming, that people all of a sudden they feel like they have access to news outlets that represent them. They feel like they are seen for the first time. And that is a tremendously powerful thing when an audience that has been invisible for a long time suddenly feels seen and served. You create that trust. And once you build that trust, then you can scale. Well, these days we are not competing with other media outlets. We are competing with people's attention spans. So when I started my career, our competition was maybe the local newspaper in town or a single TV broadcaster or radio station. Now when I publish a story, my competition is a Netflix series, a TikToker who's filming something in her kitchen, a WhatsApp group, or maybe a breaking news alert from another country. And it's all happening on the same screen on the same time. So the thing to remember is that attention is rented, attention is fickle, and so is the algorithm, but trust is earned. And if you focus on the basics and you can bring people back over and over again, because you have solved a problem that they didn't even know they had when you scroll through your content, that's when you're going to find success. We talk a lot about visibility, attention, and metrics, but we don't talk enough about what problem does the audience have that our content can help them solve. So it's interesting because somebody stopped me the other day and asked me the same question. His question was, what should I focus on in the next few years in order to stay competitive? And my answer is that none of us have a crystal ball. It's impossible to predict what will happen a year from now or even 5 years from now, what streaming platforms will be the most popular. To put things into context, when I started my career 20 years ago, the internet was only available on 2 computers at the back of the newsroom. You had to walk to the internet. I can't even conceive of that right now, right? But the thing that has endured, the thing that has stayed the same is the importance of the transferable skills. And that's why I keep going back to the same thing, back to basics. It's important to build a robust foundation. So you should know clearly who is your audience, what problem do they have that your content can help them solve, why is it important, why should they care? Answer that right from the very beginning and write your stories and develop your content with empathy and with humanity for the audience that you're representing and for the audience that you're speaking to. Don't speak at your audience, speak to them directly and they will follow you. You build that trust and then you can scale. I hope that was useful.